Hi YouTube. We're going to find out later if there is coffee maker noise in my background, but I'm here to talk to you guys about Haruki Murakami and the books I've read of his and some thoughts, and yeah, we'll just go with some thoughts, but welcome back to my channel. I'm very excited to be here. I think this is the longest I've actually successfully made YouTube videos and posted them, so go me, go us. Thank you all for watching and following me, and I hope you enjoy this video on Haruki Murakami. I'm going to kind of organize it in the order that I read the books, because I do think that's important, and then I'll go through each of the books and kind of talk about what, I'm sorry, my camera's all wobbly, what they did good, what they didn't, or I'll review them and all, basically, that'll be about it. So the first book I read was this beautiful triple split-up cover edition of IQ 84. So the books look like this. This one has the number 2 on it. This one has the number, 1, 2, 3. Why the 3 is on this side, I don't know. But anyways. 1, 2, 3. This was a very interesting book. This is the first book I read from Haruki Murakami. I'll put it back later. This is the first book I read from Haruki Murakami, and it was very interesting because it was very bizarre. And what I can say going into Haruki Murakami is this was an interesting book for me to start with because I kind of didn't know what I was expecting, and it was just a super weird book. But basically the plot line of this book is we follow 2 characters and their interactions, and we kind of just watch their journey as they come together and meet, and that's any more information on that's really kind of like the spoiler. But the female that we follow, I forget her name at this point, but the book is set in Tokyo, I believe, in 1984. It might not be Tokyo, but it's somewhere in Japan in 1984. This woman realizes that something is enough off, but like is still the same, that she doesn't want to call it 1984 anymore. She wants to call it IQ 84. The Haruki books are up here, which my stuff is following because there's no leaning pressure. We'll just deal with that later. But yeah, so when I went into this book with the understanding that this was like a different retelling almost of George Orwell's 1984, and the IQ was like she just didn't know what year it was. Overall, I think I need to read this book again now that I enjoy Haruki Murakami's work, and so I can get a better, because I'll know what to expect going into it, so to speak. But I think at the time that I read this, I probably would give this like a 3 or 4 star. I have a hard time giving anything like a 3 or worse star if I actually finish reading it, because that means I liked it enough to make it through it. But I think this is probably like a 3.5 star. I was just kind of weirded out with how some of the writing was. But anyways, this is the first book I read of Haruki Murakami's. And then read Kafka on the Shore. I love a lot of these like metallic covers. They're really fun. And this one I liked more than 1984. I also knew a little bit more about what I'd call the bizarreness to expect. This book it follows a few characters as well. I think it's 3 different characters that this one follows, and how they all like relate to each other and how it brings it together. But basically there's like weird stuff happening in this town. There's weird stuff that's happened in these people's lives, and yeah, how it brings it all together. This book does have a little bit of an incestuous storyline. Wasn't a huge fan of that, but it does further the plot. I say a little bit because it's not really clear officially if that is like what's happening, but I do believe the individuals were closely related, and it's just like some time differential thing. I think I gave this one a 4 stars because besides that one particular storyline, I did really enjoy the book. There's nothing like that Haruki Murakami does better, in my opinion, than like making you extraordinarily fascinated in this like magical element of his books. So in IQ84, there was like a different kind of magic that was seen in this like cult that you follow. And that was really bizarre and really interesting. And this one, I believe there is a. He has a lot of his books follow like a theme of there being a well of some sort, or a hole in the ground, or a like temple of a shrine, sort of thing. So this one, there was an interesting thing in that variety that I was very fascinated by the entire time I was reading it. And then I read the short story Men Without Women. Well, it's a short story collection, so there is 7 short stories in this book. Also really pretty fun metallic cover. I didn't love this book, and I'll get into it why when I have like to actually broach the issue that I have with his books, because it follows, it plays into this. But again, I did read it, and I do enjoy his writing, and it is fascinating the way he writes and the way he provides a story. So that's kind of where why I did complete reading these short story collections. So again, 3 stars. I did complete it. It's not gonna get worse than that. This book is my favorite of his books. I could not put it down. I've never heard this word pronounced out loud, so I've always said Killing Commendatore or Commendator. I'm not really sure how it's officially supposed to be pronounced, but I love this book. A 30-year-old painter is abandoned by his wife, and he goes and lives in his, I believe it's like a friend of a friend's like house in the mountains. He's just trying to get his life back together. He's lost his passion for his art, and he goes into the mountains, and again, there's a hole in the ground, and I've never been so interested and intrigued by what's going on surrounding this hole in the ground and the man without a face. So it's just, he does write very beautifully, and he does, I think, I like to think of his books very much on the magical realism scale, where it's like modernist setting, but with like heavy amounts of fantastical elements in it. And I think Haruki Murakami does do that very well, and this is an amazing book. I could not put it down. I think it's like 700 and, can't find the end of the book. 733 pages, and I think I read it. It took me a little bit to get into it, but after I sat down, I read the last 600 pages of the book in like a day and a half. So that was awesome. I don't know if I would recommend starting your Haruki Murakami journey here, but it is a beautiful book. It just still has the very bizarre elements, which we'll get to. We're almost there. The last book and I was waiting until I finished this book before I did this video, is the Windlebird Chronicle. This book follows a man's journey and into like self-discovery, into the discovery of some weird underworld, like almost criminal underworld in Tokyo, and it's all in search of his cat, and then for his wife who has disappeared. Well, she leaves him, but like nobody can figure out where she is or what she's doing, and it's a journey of like going to find her and save her, and it's very, very good. It took I can say across the board, Haruki Murakami's books take me a little bit to get into, because the suspense doesn't kick in until like maybe a third of the way through the book. But and we had he wallowed in pity for a while at the beginning, and there was some weird stuff going on. So we also, like in this book, there's also a well that has some magical capabilities and allows, I guess, almost like psychic experiences. That's, I think, the best way to put it. But this book also has a few other people who qualify as like people that would generate a psychic experience and all that jazz. So it was quite bizarre, but I did enjoy it a lot. Overall, I do like Haruki Murakami's writing. I have never been so fascinated by a hole in the ground before. But at the same time, I do sometimes like have issue with the way things are written. I don't believe that Haruki Murakami can write a female character very well. I don't associate with a lot of the aspects that you do see of of the female characters in these books, and some of it, I do wonder, like, when I'm reading these books, and I try to not judge, like, some of the things that I have issues with too harshly, because I have a feeling that, like, some of it might be just straight loss in translation because they were originally written in Japanese. I do also know that in Japan, like in more traditional Japan, most of these books, I believe, were written a good while ago, except for the Killing Commendatore book. Um, they were written a while ago, like in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s. So society has probably changed more, and women are more like of their own person at this point. But I do know the society surrounding women is different than it is in other places in the world. And I also, part of the storylines I just have issue getting around are the like sexual interactions. And all I'm going to say about that, because I don't want to stick on it too long, is that they are all very logical. They are all very weird. And I have to assume that an amount of it is due to, like, some of the taboo in Japanese society about, like, sex and stuff in general, and also that some of it's lost in translation. But it's nothing that I've ever read before, and for the most part, I could get through these books without those parts of them in it. And there's just a lot of, like, sexualization of very young girls, which is, like, I don't know why we feel the need in multiple of these books to, like, describe what a young woman's, like, breast looks like through her sweater in this art class, and when she's, like, 11. Like, I don't feel like that's a super necessary element to the books. But so I do have some issue with those things, and I honestly, for the most, I will say I think the storyline in Kafka on the Shore with the incest will actually further the plot, because it's like I'm not going to really get into it because I don't honestly have an explanation for it, but, like, it actually did help to further the plot. But that's just, like, one of the issues I do have with the books. But beyond that, I love using his books to, like, factory reset my reading brain when I've been reading too much of, like, one genre, or just am, like, in a slump, because they're unlike anything I've ever read before, and they are beautifully written books, and I love the, like, fantastical elements in it, and it's just a really cool overall reading experience, and I do encourage everybody to go read his books. I just wanted to put my little disclaimer about the things that I have a few issues and concerns with in the video. So thank you so much for watching. That is my Haruki Murakami. I didn't pick up all of the IQ84, so they don't fit in my hand. But that is my Haruki Murakami thoughts and reviews. So just to recap, because I didn't do this super in a tangential way. 4 stars for Kafka on the Shore. Oh, I didn't actually give a rating for this one. The first half of the book was not great. The second half of the book was amazing, so I'm going to average it at a 4 star. Maybe like a 3.7 if we want to get technical, but the second half of the book makes the first half of this book worth it. That's all I'm going to say. Windlebird Chronicle is like a 4 star. Haruki, his name is bigger than the title. Killing Commendatore. I'm going to give it 5 stars. There's some really weird elements in it, but, like, it was absolutely amazing. It was great. 3 stars for the collection of short stories, Men Without Women. IQ84 at first read, because it was before I'd read anything else by Haruki Murakami. I gave it a 3 stars. I imagine if I read it again, I'd probably give it a 4. But yeah, there we go. Thanks for watching my video.